Yeah.
Oh, man. All right, everybody. Welcome to episode 68 of the Fantasy Timeline, a proud member of the Dynasty Addicts Podcast Network. I'm here with my main man, Bill at Super Dupaflex. I'm Josh at Real Fantasy TL. Bill, what's going on, man?
Man, it was a nice balmy 55 degrees here in Detroit today. It was incredible. It was so weird to walk outside and be like, "Oh my god, this is so comfortable." And then see piles of snow everywhere. It was just the weirdest experience. So, pretty exciting, pretty cool, and pretty excited for tonight. How are you, brother?
Good. Same deal going on. Nice warm weather after, 28 feet of snow accumulated on the ground. So, a lot of moisture on the ground because that stuff started melting a little bit. But it was nice to actually go outside and feel the sunlight on your face. And, we'll ask our super special guest about his weather report. If you're watching this, you see that we have a very handsome our leader, the person who brings us into battle, our general, the creator of the Dynasty Addicts Podcast Network, and someone that I will call a friend, even though he may not call me one. We got Dynasty Outhouse. What's going on, Russ?
I wouldn't call you a friend, brother.
Oh, family.
Oh,
Brothers hug.
Oh,
Brothers don't shake hands. Brothers gotta hug.
I'm gonna need a minute after that. I'm gonna need a minute. Russ, how you doing, man?
I am great now that I'm here and no longer wrestling with a freshly showered 3-month-old bulldog. I am still soaking wet from it, though. But yeah, that's how I'm doing right now.
I hope this is more pleasant than wrestling a 3-month-old bulldog. Weather in Jersey treating you good too?
It's weirdly exactly the same as Philly, just outside of Philly and in Detroit, apparently. It was 55 degrees exactly, nice and sunny. I was outside with my hoodie sleeves pushed up because once it's been 20 degrees for the past 3 weeks, 55 feels like it might as well be 80. I was thinking about pulling my shorts out and everything. Yeah, all the snow's finally starting to melt. All the ice I didn't shovel away from that first snowstorm, I could finally shovel away. So it's weird the things you get excited about when you're old. Yeah. Ooh, I have a sidewalk again, even though just because I was lazy for one damn day and it just wouldn't stop snowing since that one damn day. Whew. But I'm good. I'm so happy to be here because you guys asked me to be on this show 3 or 4 weeks ago, it feels like. Yep. And you're just like, hey, you want to be on the show? And I'm like, yeah. Wait, tonight? I can't do tonight. What are you talking about? All right. Well, how about the 24th? Dude, that's 3 weeks from now. I mean, yes, I'll do it, but
Josh has been really good about scheduling everybody, so it's kind of crazy. I don't even know. Josh has just taken over the reins of this show, which I'm truly appreciative of. But he's scheduling into April. It's just crazy.
Well, it's funny because I hit these waves where I will reach out to a bunch of people and be like, hey, love you to come on and be a guest. And I'll get 3 people who'll be like, yeah, let's do it. What dates are good for you? And we set something up. And then I'll reach out to 3 more people and they're all like, oh man, super booked up, super busy. How about a couple weeks from now or next month? And I'm like, yeah, I'll hit you back up a little bit closer so that, because if someone was like, can you come on my pod in June? I would say yes. And then forget the next week. So I'm like,
let me calendar. Google Calendar, man. And the thing is, let me give you a hint. Google Calendar, but don't just put Josh podcasting on it. Because that was my mistake I used to make. Because then it's wait, who the hell am I podcasting with next week? I have 2 calendars. I have the one I share with my wife, which does just say Russ podcasting. And then I have my Dynasty Outhouse at gmail.com. If you ever, hey, just email me for the hell of it. Why not? Like, I have that one where it actually says fantasy timeline, so I know what the hell I'm doing at that specific time.
So yeah, so then I reach out to people, 2 weeks later through, hey, I remember we talked last week or we talked 2 weeks ago, and they're like, no, not really. And I'm like, yeah, do you want to guess now? They're like,
that's
oh,
when
yeah.
you screenshot that shit. Just like, look, man, you told me. Look, you told me you were gonna come on in a few weeks.
The problem is that like everyone I reach out to is like so super nice. I'm like, I could never do that to anyone. But no, man, glad to have you on. It's always like just super fun to have you on. I think this is your third time on the show. We'll go with that.
At least second, because he was our number 2 guest.
Yep. So
not our poopy guest, but our second guest.
If you're not watching live, which you absolutely should be, or you can watch it not live after the fact, that's the better way to put it. I was just making a very angry face that I was not the first guest.
I know that is Russ's master plan for every podcast that he helped start with. And by the way, this is one of those. He wants to be first, so I forgot who our first guest was.
Shane. That was my other
you.
show.
That was you making me second also.
Yes.
Ooh. All right.
No, you were our first guest. We can go back. You were my second guest for Superflex Birds.
There you go. Yeah. So now that we got that bit of
whether it's true or not, I'm going to say it is. Just
it's
because
true.
It'll make me feel better about it.
It is definitely true.
So
you could lie to me because I won't remember.
There was actually a little bit of news, so we'll talk about it for a second. Russ, I know that you already spoke about this on the Trade Addicts pod. By the way, if for some unknown reason you are listening to us, the Trade Addicts podcast, like that's a huge mistake. Like just kind of fix it. Just find them, subscribe, and you can thank me later.
Or if you already subscribed to the Dynasty Addicts Podcast Network, you'd be seeing Trade Addicts Pod slide right into your podcast feed anyway.
There you go.
This is true.
That's how you do it, Josh.
Russ, you're so much better at marketing.
That's why he's
the boss.
Show. Yeah, that's why he signs the checks. So Carson Wentz.
Nobody
he got traded.
Anymore. I saw that face. That look on Bill's face.
Wait, you're gonna check?
What? We deal with ACH, baby. There's all electronic payments over here. Just
good.
Keep it quiet because I don't pay Bill.
That's right.
That's why I said sign the checks, Ross. Come on, I'm trying to help you out. Carson Wentz gets traded.
Carson Wentz got traded.
I know it's not like he talked about this a couple days ago, but to the Indianapolis Colts, it's for a third-round pick and a conditional second that it will most likely be a first unless Carson Wentz is very terrible or gets hurt. So, Bill, we'll start with you since we won't have Russ talk about this too long since he already did it. Fantasy-wise, dynasty redraft, however you want to talk about it. What does this do for Carson Wentz? Do you like him more? Do you like him less? Do you like him the same?
Well, I like him more because at least I know that he's going to be the guy. Like, we didn't know that, if he stayed with Philly. So I am very happy with the trade. I like the fact that at least there's some hope that, maybe he can regain some sort of magic that he had, back in the day when he was playing for Reich. But, it's tempered. I mean, I'm not like, oh my God, he's going to be a, QB1 this year or anything like that. But you got to like that he's falling into a lot better situation with a better line. Wide receivers even, are better, I think. Just the whole scheme's going to help him. The defense is, there's just so much going for him that wasn't going for him. And there's really no competition unless Jacob Eason takes a huge step forward. So I don't think that's a big concern. And I like it. I think if nothing else, there is a value bump, a perceived value bump, that if you don't really like him and you don't feel like he's, getting he's not as good as he was a few years ago or what he appeared to be, and he is really more what he was the last couple of years, then it's a good time to move him. So I think ultimately, like, I'm happy with the move. I just, if I have him, I'm probably holding him because it'll build up through the off season, I think. And, because there's always sunshine blowing reports once camp starts and all that kind of stuff. So every little tidbit, everybody's going to get so much more excited about him.
Yeah, I'm with you. I think all over the offensive side of the ball, he's getting upgrades pretty much. That offensive line, I know they lost their left tackle, Costanzo. He retired, but everyone else is coming back. They have Pittman. They have Paris Campbell, who's good if he can stay healthy. And they still have cap space. Like, they can go out and get a guy. Yeah, maybe they get A-Rob. Maybe it's Kenny G. Maybe it's Juju or God. Who knows? But they have the flexibility to do that and grab a guy. And to be honest, if that's not the route they want to go, I mean, I believe they have the 21st pick in the first round. Like, maybe they snag one of these wide receivers that people are talking about are going to go at the end of the first round and pair them up with Pittman and Campbell and go. So, I mean, it's weird. I feel like there's a lot of negativity on Carson Wentz, and don't get me wrong. If you just want to base it on what he did last year, the negativity is 100% warranted. But, I mean, just the year before that, he took the Eagles to the playoffs, and, I mean, he was throwing to Greg Ward and Deontay Burnett and guys that you probably didn't even have on your team in the deepest of dynasty leagues. So if he can just get an upgrade and maybe a change of scenery, I think he could be a very good player. And he was taken at 605 in our listener league draft. So super flex 12 team. I feel like that's a
77th pick overall.
Yeah, I feel like that's a pretty good value. And I think he was taken right before the trade went down, I think. Or maybe it was right after. But, yeah. Russ, any final parting words on this news?
Well, not really, but it's weird. It's how often do we get something right? Because I feel like the community was always just like, well, the Colts are like the one team that has the cap space and the need. And that actually happened. They were just like, yeah, I feel smart, right? And it made sense because Frank Reich was there. Frank Reich was he the OC or the QB coach? I can't remember when Wentz had his awesome season. I think he was the OC, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So getting them two back together, and and Drew in the chat brought up Pittman not giving up number 11. More importantly, did you see AJ Brown's response?
Yes.
AJ Brown responded is like, look, man, don't forget who gets you the ball. I don't think you want to talk like that.
By the way, fun fact, AJ Brown also wears number 11.
Number 11, yeah. Thankfully, Tannehill was 17. But no, I love this. Like, I've always been a Wentz believer. I've always been a big fan. Philly just never put him in a good situation. And I love this. The better offensive line, the better weapons, better running back. Screw it. I'll say it. I really like Jonathan Taylor. I'll say it. But
yeah.
So like the running game is definitely going to have to get respected, and a better defense. So like there is no aspect the Eagles were better at. Maybe at tight end, and that's it. But don't get me wrong. I like Trey Burton, Mo Alley Cox. I think Jack Doyle's a free agent, but Jack Doyle's not going anywhere. But like, still, like, and don't forget, Trey Burton was on the Eagles with Carson Wentz, so there's a little bit of chemistry there. Like, I love this. I picked 76. If I wasn't an ass and didn't trade up 6 times in the Trade Addicts 9 draft, so I can get to 101 and 103 to take Mahomes and Kyler, I would absolutely be drafting Carson Wentz. But I don't have a pick to like the 14th round now.
Yeah, I mean, just
like
living in the Philly market and just watching him. Like, obviously, I saw all of the lowlights from the 2020 season, but just kind of watching Wentz win games with nobodies in 2019, I can't believe the dude just went from being able to do that to totally washed in the span of a season. And I think a lot of it is more mental. I mean, yeah,
Yes.
I mean, he was having mechanical breakdowns as well, which I think
one
Frank
leads to the
Reich.
other. Like I just don't think his brain. I don't think he was in it. I think his mood was off. I think his brain wasn't completely in it. And you're gonna have those people like, oh, you're making millions of dollars. You just go out there and play. It's more than just that. I mean, first of all, you're making millions of dollars because your body is dead when you are done with this game. But also, like, you have a boss, a company, like that's what these teams technically are, that are showing zero interest in you as a human being and as a player itself. You are literally just something they are throwing money at. And then whether it's their fault or not, the quarterback's the guy that gets the blame when the offense is bad. So he's just like, you know what? They're going to shit on me anyway. I'm just going to fall down before I get sacked. I'm going to throw the ball away before I get hit. And that is just, it is what it is. And I can't say I get it because, let's face it, my brain will never understand the competitiveness of actual athletes because that part of my brain is just missing. But still, like, absolutely, like, Andrew Luck retired for similar reasons that Carson Wentz just left the Eagles. Like, I completely believe that maybe he won't go back to that almost MVP form, but I can't imagine him not getting better than he was last year. It's beyond me. So, like, Bill calls him a hold. I call him a buy. Like, because chances are you can probably get him for a mid to late first. Like, if you can get him for like the 106 and later, I'm all for that. Because to me, the top tier of rookies is like 6 to 7 deep, 9 at most. So to me, if you can get him for one of those later picks, I mean, you're going to have a starting quarterback for at least the next couple of years on a very good team. And like you said, there's always, like, they have so much cap room. So I'm all there. I love Carson Wentz.
Yeah, and you know, people are saying, you know, he hates having to look over his shoulder, and that was always like such a weird situation because he had that MVP type season in 2017. Then he got hurt. Then Foles takes him to the Super Bowl, and that was kind of a weird dynamic. And then they finally get rid of Foles, and you think, you know, he's finally the guy. And then they take Hurts in the second, which is another thing. And, you know, I think now being in Indy and not having, you know, to really worry about the guy behind them unless, you know, they sign like a.
No, you're not worrying about Jacob Eason. Let's just put it that way. Unless they go and bring in competition, in which case I will feel bad for Carson Wentz at that point.
If they sign like a Fitzpatrick to back him up, I think that could be a little bit different. But yeah, Eason, if Eason is the backup, Carson Wentz has got no worries about, you know, having to, you know, the guy behind him. And, you know, our boy Har, you know, he got hit a ton. I was listening and I can't remember who I was listening to, so I apologize, but they gave up the most sacks in the league, and Carson Wentz took 50 sacks himself. That's not talking about all the sacks that Hurts took. And 50 is tied for number 2 in the league for an entire team. So it's just like he was getting pounded, you know, and it's not all the line's fault. I mean, they were starting third and fourth string guys a lot of the season due to all the injuries. So, I mean, you can only do what you can do. But yeah, I think moving on, new scenery, new teammates, I think it's going to be good for him. And I think that if you are in a startup, target him, you know, you're not going to have to spend a premium pick on him, but QB2, go get it. I think you'll be happy with that. So, you know, got the news out of the way because there's usually not news this time of year. And now we're going to go to what we saw on the timeline. So the first question is from Jimmy Barnhart at Jimmy_Barnhart. 12 team Superflex tight end premium. He wants to know if this is a fair offer. So we have Mike Evans on one side, and then we have Juju and the 2021 204 on the other side. So is it Evans or is it Juju in the pick? Russ, why don't we start with you? Which side of this do you like more?
That's pretty even to me. I mean, I am of the mind where I think Juju is the kind of wide receiver that can fit in almost any situation he wants to go in. If he stays in Pittsburgh, he'll be fine. If he goes somewhere, he gets to pretty much choose where he goes, right? Because there's going to be a couple of teams interested, and he'll get to choose, hopefully. Man, that young man has to make so much money in sponsorships and advertising and all that stuff that, like, maybe again, I don't have the same brain, so maybe like they need every single dollar they can get. But like, if he's willing to give up $2-3 million on his contract to go sign with a better team, then I love him no matter where he goes. Evans never will get the respect that he deserves from the beginning of his career, but still, they're pretty even to me in the first place. So I guess maybe I would say, is the stability of knowing Mike Evans is on Tampa with Tom Brady throwing the ball worth the 204? Yeah, I mean, whatever. That's fine. So this is pretty much a pick 'em to me. If it's me, I guess I take Juju in the 204 because it's the extra piece. But I could see either side. Like, if I had, regardless of which side I had, I'd probably be like, okay, sure. yeah, it's one of those. Even enough.
All right, Bill. What do you like? You like Evans or Juju in the pick?
Yeah, I think I agree almost exactly with what Russ said. I think that, it is a very even trade. I think the poll shows that it is a pretty even trade. It's ultimately, if I'm a contender, it's one of those things. It's just a matter of, like, I'd rather take the definite points with Mike Evans. But if I'm kind of in that, I'm not sure where it is, or I'm in a rebuild, obviously it's the other direction. I mean, every time you think that Mike Evans is slipping, he shows he's not, and it's just a matter of the offense and how he's getting utilized. He's always going to disappear, for weeks, and there's going to be weeks where he just destroys. So it's just one of those things. And Juju, it's just a matter of, like, where do they use him? Do they use him in the slot? Do they use him outside? I mean, he showed that he's much better in the slot than he is, playing on the outside. So there's a little bit of unknown there. Like, for example, like if he went to the Lions, like, I wouldn't be happy with that situation for him. So, I mean, I'm just not 100% sure. So I'd rather take the security of knowing that Mike Evans is with Tampa. And, if he's blowing up and my team kind of fizzles out, I think I can still move him during the season, to get some younger players or picks at that point.
Yeah, I think I'm on the Evans side. Even though, I mean, if I see this trade, or if someone came to me in a DM and asked me, like, hey, what do you think about this trade? Be like, hey, like, I lean the Evans side, but if you like the Juju and the pick, go for it. According to the people that actually are looking at this thing, people like, like Ray Garvin, people like, all the people out there. I'm blanking on names right now for some unknown reason. Kane, Zach Reed, J Mike. Like, people are saying this draft looks like it's about 20 deep at, like, players that you'll be happy with on your squad. So, I mean, 204 and a 12 team, that's 16. So you should be happy with that. Plus you get Juju. So I get it. I just think that Evans is the guy that we kind of always, maybe he starts slow like he did last year, and we're like, he's done, he doesn't got it anymore. And then he just gets his 1,000 yards, his double-digit touchdowns, and then at the end of the year, we're like, well, he can't do it again next year, and then he just does it again next year. So,
well, the start of the season was nothing like we've seen before. Like this,
no,
the start of this season, he was literally Jordan Howard, like 1 yard and
one touchdown,
and that was his games. 2 catches for 4 yards and 2 touchdowns. Like, it was ridiculous. Like, I legitimately was out on Mike Evans at the beginning of the year because it was a good couple of games, as long as Chris Godwin wasn't hurt. Because then when Chris Godwin was hurt, Mike Evans saw everything. But it wasn't until like halfway through the season where they got their stuff together. And once that started happening, man, there's no reason that can't go into next year, especially if Godwin's gone. So, yeah, I again, both sides of this trade. Like I was about to say, like I could totally see taking him, but I could still take Juju in that 204 because especially once you get close, like yeah. So definitely both sides of this, but getting those, like you said, the range of rookies is usually this draft's about 20 deep. So if you can get the 15th, 16th, like the 204 is, that's a really good bargaining chip to have someone be like, you just go out to the league like, look, this is almost running out. Why don't you come take this pick? And you can probably get a first for next year. Or, move a couple of picks back and grab a third on top. Like it's a very movable piece on top of getting Juju also.
For sure. So, and, as we were saying, Juju in the pick got 53% of the vote. Mike Evans got 47. So, I mean, pretty close to 50-50 as you can get on Twitter. So, yeah, I mean, either way, go for it. I mean, I like the Evans side. Russ likes Juju in the pick. Bill, were you on the Evans side? I can't remember where you ended up.
Yeah.
So, I mean, either way.
Take Juju in the pick because clearly I know what I'm talking about.
I think you're right.
There you go.
Go with our boss. He knows best. So the next one here is from the Buffalo Schuler at the FF Buffalo. He said, drop a late round wide receiver that you're excited to see progress next season. And then he gave a couple of examples, but I won't list them out in case they maybe were the guys you were thinking of. So, Bill, we'll start off with you. Late round wide receiver that you are interested in.
Well, that's interesting because like late round, like we're doing a startup and like all the people that I'm thinking of are still not super late round, right? Like all these guys are mid round picks now. Like it seems like the hype train has, kind of kicked a lot of these guys, these second year guys forward. I think of the guys that kind of what they're talking about. I think that Darnell Mooney is my guy. I think he had like 90 some targets last year. As a rookie with, he was going up against Anthony Miller, so he wasn't getting a ton of targets early on. And, Allen Robinson getting a ton of targets. Allen Robinson may not be there this year. If that's the case, then, that opens up some more opportunity for him. He can play inside and outside, so that's a positive. So that's going to give him more opportunity to be on the field. So I think he's the guy that I kind of liked last year. So it's almost like this bias of mine to like go, oh, I still like, he showed, so I want more of him. So like I want to be more right, I guess. So, I mean, it's probably part of that is just a bias thing, but like I'm excited to see what he does this year.
And what about you, Russ? Who's that guy that you're looking at?
Well, I'm with you on Darnell Mooney because I really think there's no way Allen Robinson goes back. I think that's done.
I agree.
And while I don't think it's a 1-for-1 replacement by any means, Mooney is good, so he will get targets from regardless of whoever the quarterback ends up being. Well, I'm going to steal your guy and say, well, I have a couple, but I'll say Quintus Cephas. If Golladay doesn't come back, it's Cephas and Hawkinson. That's all that's left to catch the ball because Marvin Jones is also a free agent and they're not paying a 40-year-old when they're rebuilding. So, so I'm a big fan of the fact that he may just fall into volume for, by default. And also I go for the Johnsons, Colin Johnson and Tyler Johnson. I am scooping up anyone on the Jaguars I can because like saying Visca right now wouldn't really work because he's way too much of a mid pick. But I mean, maybe Colin Johnson, maybe like he's a big dude. Maybe that's what they need. Maybe that's what I almost said Tyler Johnson again, but maybe that's what Trevor Lawrence is going to want to throw to. We don't really know, necessarily how that's going to work out. And then Tyler Johnson is really just based on the fact if Godwin leaves, there's going to be some shuffling and he's the cheapest guy you could buy on that team. So why not just get a piece? So if we're sticking to second year guys, because that's the only thing my brain could think of right now, those are my 3 real buys right now from the second half of startup drafts. So, Lindsay Kennedy, she says she likes your Cephas.
shout out there because she just took him at 1608 in the listener league startup, and
Rock on, Lindsay.
member of the Trade Addicts B team, Justin was slamming Cephas, and I had to put some respect on his name because apparently he's slow, so he can't be good. So
Hey, he showed just fine at the beginning of the season. One of those first 2 games when Godwin was out, when Golladay was out.
So, and I think if it's all about can Goff actually get him the ball. But besides that, I mean, I think he wanted to share his love of Goff, but then trash Cephas, and I was like, yeah, Cephas is actually a great route runner, which I think a lot of people don't realize because he's slow. But he's actually like a really good route runner. So if Goff can just get him the ball, he'll be all right. But one guy I wanted to throw out there is Gabriel Davis of the Bills.
Yes, I was thinking about him and then forgot him when I started thinking about Cephas. So yeah, I completely agree.
He kind of showed out. Only 35 receptions, but 599 yards, which is a pretty good clip, and 7 touchdowns. So the guy can do something once he has the ball in his hands. I think John Brown is a free agent or can be cut or something like that.
Yeah, he's probably gone.
So if he's just kind of moving up into the pecking order, more opportunity. I just like what his ceiling can be. And another guy that I touted last year, and I am going to tout one more time, Brian Edwards for the Las Vegas Raiders. Lot of injury in his rookie season, but when he was out there, his yards per target was actually kind of insane. And I think that if they can get him incorporated into the offense a little bit more, and he can stay healthy, I think he can do some big things on that offense. So there you go, Schuler. A bunch of guys. Hopefully.
Wait, before you move on, I want to throw out Van Jefferson because you said Goff and it made me think about the Rams, even though he's not there anymore. Same reason as I was talking about the Johnsons is getting in on an offense because the Rams are a good offense. And if you really believe that Goff is what was holding them back, then you're going to be further into that offense than you were last year. And again, if you want to get the cheapest piece and you want to get the piece that is also the youngest and probably the fastest at this point, you go with Van Jefferson. I think he's a cheapest. You probably don't have to pay more than a late second. And, that should probably get it done pretty easily. So yeah, that's another name I just wanted to throw out before you moved on.
And fun fact, Josh Reynolds is a free agent. So
right, that too.
So just bump Van Jefferson up one.
My dog and my daughter fell asleep together.
That's awesome.
Aww.
It's so cute.
That's awesome. But yeah, so there you go. We got a ton of them. We probably named, everyone outside of the top 5 wide receivers that were picked last year. So there you go. You should have a ton of guys to work with there. So this next one is from J Money at J Money Jarrett.
J Money.
Dynasty.
I got excited.
Half PPR. Cam Akers or Robert Woods and David Montgomery. So, Russ, why don't we start off with you? Do you like Akers or do you like Woods and Montgomery?
I'm definitely going to fall into shiny new toy syndrome on this one. I don't know if it's the right answer, but I kind of want Akers. Robert Woods is good. We know that, but will he be the guy that he was with Stafford? I mean, there's such different quarterbacks, Stafford and Goff, that it's a little foolish to think what it's going to look like. And man, I don't. David Montgomery scored more points in the last 5 weeks than he did in the first 9. Things fell in a special way those last few games that And this happens to a lot of running backs, really, where they just spike at the end of the year and nothing changes. I mean, I think there's going to be a lot of changes to that offense. Tariq Cohen's coming back. Who knows who their quarterback's going to be, because they've said they're pretty much moving on from Trubisky. They clearly don't seem thrilled with Foles. So, I mean, they're drafting or going to sign somebody. So that offense is going to look completely different anyway, I feel like, again, without Allen Robinson also. So that's a lot of maybe, as opposed to, again, Akers is a guy that did well just those last few weeks. But we know, well, I believe Akers is talented. He's good. And I think that offense is only going to get better than what it was. So I'm on the Akers side, especially just from a value standpoint. Like, Akers hype is kind of crazy right now. So I think you could get more than those two. Maybe not, like, even if it's not more value wise, I think you can get at least like one better player out of it that feels a lot safer than those two. So, but I'm easily on the Akers side of this.
All right, Bill, Akers or the package?
Yeah, I think I'm very much like discounting wide receivers now. Like, it's just kind of how I mentally do it. So, like, I mean, there's just so many wide receivers, and there's just going to be more. And the fact that, you know, Woods is getting up there in years, like, sure, you're going to get another year or two of production from him, but is it really going to be that different than another wide receiver that you can get for less? It's just kind of one of those things. Like, there's such a huge clump of wide receivers that are like, I can't really separate. So I'd rather just go with somebody who's like gonna cost less. And so with the running back, I'm just looking at Montgomery or Akers. I mean, I feel like Akers is much more talented and on the better offense. So, I mean, that alone kind of makes me feel like I would do that. Like, I'm very much willing to move like a second or third tier wide receiver on top of somebody to get a better running back.
Yeah, this one was tough for me because I'm totally with Russ here. Kind of like, hey, shiny new toy, and we kind of saw him show out at the end of the season. But was that due to Darrell Henderson being hurt? Is he going to end up being a factor next year? Yeah, Russ also mentioned, like, what is Stafford going to do for that offense? Is Robert Woods still like that number one guy, or is it spread around a little bit more to the, you know, Cooper Kupps and Van Jeffersons, and maybe Tyler Higbee becomes a thing again? God, this was so tough. I mean, I think I would go with like Woods and Montgomery, but like, I'm not like super confident in it. I'm not like bang the table. Like, I'm totally right about this one. Like, someone could easily be like,
yeah, but also doesn't that make you feel like you should get better players for Akers if you're just like
yes,
to that side, which means you should hang on the best player. So I'm making the decision for you. You are choosing the Cam Akers side.
So we have all chose the Cam Akers side after I briefly chose the wrong side. But no, Russ, I mean, I think you bring up a really good point. Like, if you have Cam Akers and this is the offer you get, and you're as indecisive as I was, like, yeah, like, I get it. Like, I could do this trade. That probably means you shouldn't do the trade, because if you're not like, yeah, like, I'm definitely getting the value I deserve out of Cam Akers, then you shouldn't be doing the trade. So,
yep.
And I'm looking at the like DTC, and it shows like that it's pretty close, but you're doing a 2-for-1. So, like, I feel like there needs to be a little bit more.
Little package adjustment.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, I mean, even like earlier, like right at the end of the season, right after the season, I should say, I traded away David Montgomery for DJ Chark. And I was told I was told that Montgomery was worth more than Chark. But even if that trade was Cam Akers for Woods and Chark, I would feel better about it then. Like,
yes,
if Montgomery is in this trade because, oh, I need a running back, I'm trading away a running back. It's February. Knock that stuff off. You don't just go for the best value you can get. And if you're trading away such a young guy, you might as well get another young Studley guy. And I'm a Chark fan, and again, Trevor Lawrence is coming in. Whether you trade him away before the season starts because the hype is just going to get bigger and bigger for the people that are pass catching for Trevor Lawrence, that's fine. That's why you trade right now. You trade to gain value on your team so you can move that value for more later. That's just how it's supposed to work, at least. So again, like the value itself isn't super off, like Bill was saying, like with DTC. It's just that Akers' value can and probably will go up. There's no way Montgomery's value is getting higher, and Woods is past 25 years old, so his value can only go down. Like, so to me, it's just it's moves in the wrong direction.
I know you probably didn't do this, Russ, but you mentioned the Montgomery for Chark. You didn't run a poll on that, did you?
Oh no, that was me. I just sent it. Oh no, it wasn't a Twitter challenge. Well, to be fair, I tried to get more from it. I think I tried to get like Chark in a second, and the dude's just like, I'll do it straight up. And I'm like, I don't like David Montgomery. Whatever, that's fine.
Because it's funny that people came to you and said you should have gotten more value. But I feel like if you had run a poll just saying like, hey, which side do you like more? And then run the same exact poll, like the second after Trevor Lawrence gets drafted, I feel like that value swing would be so massive in the other direction, because right now, technically, the Jaguars just have the first pick in the draft. It's not Trevor Lawrence yet. But the second it becomes Trevor Lawrence, like you're going to be able to sell your DJ Charks, your LaVisca Chenaults, even your like James Robinsons for, 10, 20% more than you would the day before the draft. I mean, it's going to be an insane swing in value once the commissioner actually comes to the podium and says the Jacksonville Jaguars take Trevor Lawrence. So I like doing those things.
And also, I mean, let's not forget that David Montgomery won a lot of people fantasy championships. Let's just put it out there.
Yeah.
Like he had that run in the end. So that was fresh in people's minds. Like, I mean, that's not who he is, and I'm fine with that. And I'm smart enough to know that I'm not going to pull the wool over people's eyes in trade addicts leagues and be like, no, David Montgomery, top 5 running back, right? Like, no one's going to buy that. So I treated him for what his value really is, as opposed to like what it seemed to be at that point.
So Drew comes up with an interesting one here. Reality versus fantasy. Chark with T-Law or Monty with Deshaun Watson?
No, more important, go one down. Click on Lindsay's.
Mooney with
Watson. That's what matters. Watson actually doesn't check down all that much, so that doesn't necessarily help. But again, also Tariq Cohen's coming back. So it was a cute try, Drew, but it doesn't really work in this one. So the answer is still easily Chark with T-Law to me.
Yeah, I mean, the reason why Monty got all of that volume is, like you said, Russ, like Tariq Cohen wasn't there. And you can say whatever you want about Tariq Cohen, but the Bears actually paid him a good chunk of money to stay around. So it's not like they're just going to forget about him once he's healthy and able to produce. So I think a lot of the pass catching and the stuff that you kind of were very surprised to get from Montgomery is not going to be there as much as it was. So that's
was Drew's thing for fantasy?
I think
because I would completely take the Watson side on that.
You would take Monty with Watson over Chark with T-Law?
Absolutely, yeah.
Yeah, I can't do it.
So
I don't think he was meaning. He wasn't meaning a trade. He was just saying which situation.
Like in a.
Oh, I gotcha. Okay. Yeah. I misunderstood. Okay. It wasn't trading those two for those two. It was
right.
This player with
he's saying which
with that
situation
player.
do you like?
He's
better?
Just saying would
I
you
misunderstood. Okay.
Okay. Cool. Because I was like, Bill and I are going to get into a fight, and I'm all about it.
He was lying about not having alcohol. He put some whiskey in.
Yeah. Right. Yeah.
But, and it's
that's not alcohol for Irish.
But Bill and I are so funny because people come to us all the time and are like, God, you guys like agree on so much, and it's like we don't go out there like try. We don't come to the show like, hey, we're going to agree on everything. We just kind of agree. But like some of my favorite parts of this show are when we disagree and we go at it because it's fun. And Bill and I at the end of the show are like, oh man, that was like fun. Like you had your piece to say, I had my piece to say. And we're like we co-own the team in the Timeline Listener League. And you should see our private chat. It's like, all right,
say that.
Like our pick is coming up. Like, who do you like? Here are the guys I'm kind of looking at. Who are you looking at?
Josh lists a bunch of Cowboys.
Hey,
like, what am I supposed to do with that?
We have two, so it's been working. It's been working. We have CeeDee Lamb and Blake Jarwin. So,
all right. Well, I mean, one of them's going to work well, so that's good.
I guess he's really in love with Jarwin. I like it.
CeeDee's. I can't even just no. I'm sorry for anyone listening. No, I was joking. That was a lie. I'm sorry. CeeDee Lamb is awesome.
You can see the big smile on Russ's face if you're actually watching us while he was doing that. But no, like, and Bill's like, hey, I like these guys. I don't like two guys on your list, and I'm like, oh, I don't like two guys on your list. And then we're like, hey, how about this one guy? Sure. I think there was one round where we really were like, he was like, I don't like your guy, and I was like, well, I don't like your guy. And we went back and forth for like 10.
So he took a pick.
Yeah, we're like, all right, we'll take a rookie pick here. It's like, all right,
the ultimate compromise.
That's right.
But like Bill and we're in what are we in the 18th round now or something, and we're still just like, hey, like, here's my list of guys. Who do you like? And he's like, oh, I like these guys, and we don't argue.
Well,
so
18th round, and you're still both listing guys. Like usually, you just start swapping rounds at that point.
No,
right.
No, we're still in this. Hey,
that's
listen.
Cute.
Let me show you. I'll tell you some of the guys that are out there. There are still some studs on the old draft.
Let's not bore our listeners with our team.
No, I was gonna just talk about guys that were still available to be drafted
or our league.
Really, I literally based a podcast around my league, so I mean,
yeah, like, Bill.
Watch what you're saying, Bill.
Hey.
Hey, listen. Why don't we take Todd Gurley? He's top of the ADP list right now. No, we're not doing that. But
no, don't do that.
No, we're not doing that. We're trying to do something good with our team. But all right, cool. Hey, let's move it on to our next one. This is from Dynasty Zoltan at Dynasty Zoltan FF.
I thought you said Sultan.
I did not say Sultan. Man. Zoltan.
Now I want to make Sultan. Dynasty Soul Glow.
Sorry, Zoltan.
He's curious on this one, and he's probably more curious after the Sultan here. This is a Superflex Dynasty. So he's got Mahomes on one side, and then he has the 101, 102, 201, and 204 on the other side. So the top two picks, and then two high second rounders, or Patrick Mahomes. Russ, why don't you take this one first?
Mahomes.
Bill?
Like
yeah. I don't even think like it blows my mind where the poll is. Like, let's just say that. Like, I mean, if this is the only time I don't say that is if this is like a 16-team league. Maybe I consider
then you need
that
more
trade a little bit more. But that is the only way I'm considering this trade. And like, even if it's 14, like I think it's so Mahomes in this. Like, it's just, I mean, this is a beautiful trade because people so overvalue picks every year. Like, it's just crazy to me. And like, you don't know what's going to happen. Like, we see a lot of picks hit, but there's so many that don't, and we forget about those sometimes. And you know, if you hit on 3 of those, you're going to be ecstatic. And so, but what's hitting? Is it QB1? Is it, you know, a top 12 quarterback? I mean, like, even then, like, if you have both of those quarterbacks hit and they end up QB1s, I mean, what's the difference between, like, let's say let's say it ends up being Lawrence ends up being like a top 8 quarterback, and then I've already blanking on the guy from Ohio State. Fields is top 12. Like, they're still so far away from like the QB 1 to 3 that Mahomes is every year. Like, you could plug in like a mediocre quarterback for that second quarterback and still outscore those two guys. So, like, that's how much value, in my opinion, Mahomes has. So, like, there's no way I'm going to take the unknown over arguably the best asset in Superflex.
Yeah, you're trading away a stud.
Inarguably.
Yeah, you're trading away a stud. You need something solid in return. And say all you want the fact that Trevor Lawrence
right now.
Yeah. Say that I know that Trevor Lawrence is a top 12 startup pick. That doesn't mean he's solid in any way, shape, or form.
Yeah, and I bring this up because every time I find a Mahomes question, I bring it on because for last month and a half, 2 months, we got a Mahomes question. And someone just asked, like, what would you need to get in order to trade Mahomes away? And I was just like, like Thanos, like everything. Like, and that's what it is. It's like, what do you need? Well, I need a lot. And this trade, it's a bunch of picks. And, Bill made a real good point. Like, would you trade Mahomes for Kirk Cousins and Matt Stafford? I mean, you're talking about two guys that are like back end of top 12 most years, but like you're not making that trade, and that you're hoping that Fields and Lawrence are like the 8th and like 12th best quarterback in the league, 2 or 3 years from now. But what if Fields, and I'm not saying he will, but what if he follows the Dwayne Haskins route? Ohio State quarterback just doesn't put it together and flames out. Then you really, you traded Mahomes for maybe a top 5 guy in Lawrence and 201 and 204. Like, yeah, they could be something, but I was taking Brian Edwards, at that like 204, 205 spot in a lot of rookie drafts because I believed in him. And I'm not saying he's done, but his rookie year didn't leave a lot to be excited about. Yeah, I mean, maybe if there's some actual players that have done something in the league thrown in instead of, some of these picks, maybe you have a different story to talk about. But just for 4 picks, 4 dart throws.
And if you ask me, I need at least super flex. I need like 3 to 4 firsts value for Mahomes anyway. Like, despite the fact that the 101 is such a high value, it's still a pick. It's still insanely unknown. It would take like 101, 102, 103, and then like the 201 and 202, and then I'll start thinking about it. And even still, I wouldn't do it because I want an actual player that's done something in the NFL before that I could say, okay, no, I like the promise of this. And if you're a rebuilding team, you're building around Mahomes anyway, unless you have absolutely nothing. Like, if your team is complete trash and you have Patrick Mahomes, okay, I get this. You should have gotten more, but that's fine. But you building a team around Lawrence and Fields or Lawrence and Wilson, if the world gets weird, it's not a terrible thing. Just it's not a smart move, but that doesn't mean it won't end up being the right move.
Yeah, and it's a different discussion if Mahomes is Aaron Rodgers' age. He's 37, 38, and you're like, all right, what's he got? Max 2 more good years before you have to, throw him out with the bathwater. But like Mahomes has got a decade of excellence still left in him.
On his contract.
Yeah,
and on his contract. So, I mean, why am I only getting a few years younger if we're talking about a rebuild? And literally still it's just dart throws. Like, we don't know. I mean, as much as we want to talk about, number 1 overall quarterbacks, like Jared Goff was one of those. He just got traded. No one would say like that was a successful 101 pick. I mean, he's good. He's been good. He's like that back end QB1, high end QB2. But Mahomes,
there's so many more you can go, like Goff, Winston, Mariota. I mean, you could even say RG3 at this point. I mean, that wasn't super his fault, but still, it worked out the way it worked out. Even like, are you super thrilled with Andrew Luck only playing in the league for like 4 years ish because he missed one? You know, it's
right.
Like that's still even. Yeah, it was great while you had him, but again, it's too much. It's too much risk for like literally the safest player in the league.
Let's play a quick game.
Oh,
we'll remove the 101 from that trade, and I'm gonna plug in a quarterback, and you tell me if you'd be willing to make that trade.
Okay.
Aaron Rodgers.
Nope. There's no point. If why get so much older and then take draft picks?
Yep. Joe Burrow.
Yeah.
You would make the trade?
I would heavily start considering it at that point.
So you're saying, just to be clear, Joe Burrow, 102, 201, and 204, I think.
Correct. Yep.
Yeah, I'm with Russ. I'm definitely starting to think.
I still want more. That's the thing. Like,
okay,
I don't
Justin
think the value
Herbert
is completely perfect. Yes, I mean at what Justin Herbert is worth right now. Yeah, I do it.
Yeah, I mean, I do it, but I'm still kind of like what Russ was saying with the last one. I just want a little bit more.
I don't feel great
Russell
about
Wilson.
it. Like, but nope.
Who was that? I'm sorry, I didn't hear that.
Russell Wilson.
Nah,
I was too busy.
Right, so you guys need a young quarterback.
Yes,
with
it's the only thing that makes
shown
sense.
it plus the 102 and the 201 and the 204.
And honestly, even in the Burrow and Herbert cases, like I want a little bit more. Like,
yeah,
it doesn't have to be like a massive piece, but
that's what you get. That's the offer.
I mean, I'm greedy. Like,
but what
I wouldn't do it. Like in the end, I wouldn't do it with Burrow. Like, I mean, you have to go up from there. Like what I do for Deshaun Watson, man. Like if I knew where he was, Josh Allen just went at 102 in trade at X9. By the way, I took Mahomes at 1, Josh Allen went 2, and I took Kyler at 3. Because yes, too much to my co-host Rocky's chagrin, I went QX real hard, and I started with the 105 and somehow ended up with the 101 and 103. I like I said, I don't have picks till I don't have a first round pick next year, and I don't pick again till like the 6th. But I have really good quarterbacks.
Yeah, I mean, I think Allen went 102 in the timeline listener league as well. So,
I mean, I took him at the 105 in a mock draft, so I get it.
Yeah, I mean, that's really the quarterback that I'm talking about, where I'm like 100% sold. You know, Watson, Allen, Kyler. Where I'm like, yeah, let's do that deal. Like, but like Herbert, it's like I want a little bit more. Like, Burrow, I want a little bit more. Like
Dak.
Yeah, I do it.
I know you would, Josh. I don't even know why I asked that one.
I didn't want to say yeah too quickly because then everyone's like, "You're a homer." I'm like, Dak is really good.
I said it faster. Don't worry.
You did.
So, but yeah, I mean, Dak, as long as everything goes well with the ankle, which all the reports
you don't know
saying,
right now. The decision has to be made right now.
No, I would. I mean, all the reports are saying that he's ahead of schedule on recovery.
I wouldn't.
So, Dak, the 102.
No.
Got a hater.
It's not a hater. It's just a matter of I'm much more conservative when it comes to, like, if I have the elite guy, like I want to get a surefire thing. I'm not sold that Dak's going to be with Dallas in 3 years, let alone, where I know that Mahomes is in KC and they're always going to be building around him and he's going to make everybody better. I can't say that for Dak. And I mean, you and I have had that conversation where I feel Dak's a good quarterback. I just don't feel like he's at that level.
He's not, but you're also getting the 102.
Yeah, but I mean, that could end up being nothing. So I would much rather just go with the top guy.
Yeah, but what quarterbacks can you get for the 102?
Nobody that I would, really care for.
No, in a trade.
No, I understand. But
Really?
like,
You don't?
you'd have to get like, you're not getting any of the players I listed. So then, and there's a huge cliff after those guys, in my opinion, for what I'd be willing to pay.
Man, trying to think of players off the top of your head is like the worst thing in the world. Like I'm sitting here like, yeah, but what about crap?
Well,
I cannot think of a
in
single quarterback in this entire
ADP,
league.
Rodgers is 12. Okay, so Burrow is 10, or maybe Rodgers is 10. So like, there's a huge change from Burrow to Rodgers, and I just think that everything beyond that is like, just mediocrity. And so what could you get for the 102, the 201, and the 204? I still don't think you're getting Burrow for that. You know what I mean? So like, you would still be below Burrow. So essentially you'd be trading for Dak and some other quarterback that I'm not super excited about.
I don't know if you can get Burrow for that right now, but I wouldn't be shocked if you could get Burrow for that in April.
Wait, have you ever been super excited about anything, Bill? Like to me, this is just what your face is. Like,
well,
I don't know
my
if I've ever
face
seen
doesn't
you
display
emote.
my emotions. I'm very much an emotional person. It's just I don't display it. I'm like emo. So,
because I remember, I will never forget the first episode of Fantasy Timeline that ended up on the DAP network. And Bill was like, maybe we should wait till next week. I got really grumpy on this one. So I'm like, I
felt really grumpy.
And then I listened to the show and I'm like, all right, the show just ended. Do you get grumpy after the show? Because I didn't hear any grumpiness during the show. What's like, is it now? Like when will then be now?
Yeah, I guess like when I talk, I'm pretty monotone,
there was no grumpiness.
So my emotion doesn't get displayed a lot when I'm speaking. So, but I felt grumpy.
I got Bill fired up. Was it right after the season? Maybe. Oh no, it was the whole Eagles tanking thing, which we don't need to go into again.
I don't even remember that.
Yeah, I know, but he got fired up because people were like, "Well, you're always supposed to play the best players," and I'm like, teams just
was this
don't always
at the end?
Yeah, I'm like, but teams just don't always do that. And like, I brought up the fact that like statistically on a per game average, Joe Flacco was better than Sam Darnold.
Oh yeah.
And
I'm like, that's just ridiculous.
And if you want to run with that line of logic, then like you should be mad at the Jets for not starting Joe Flacco. And Bill was like, that's a ridiculous argument. And I'm like, but that's the point. Argument. It's ridiculous to say that teams always play the best players all the time. Like they have.
That's not what you said. You said, no, that's not ridiculous.
It's not though. On that line of thinking, if you're
look at it, see,
is the best players should always play, then you should be clamoring for some Joe Flacco, and ain't nobody doing that. So, emo Bill, dark version of Mr. Bill.
Oh no!
I'd watch that. Just saying.
I love it. I love it. So,
oh no,
we had a couple of
emo Bill just be like,
Mr. Bill.
Mr. Bill. So we had a couple questions. I always put out a little tweet on the Timeline account, which is something you should be following, by the way, ladies and gentlemen, at Fantasy Timeline, because I'd like to get some last minute listener questions to go in. And both of these are from your co-host, Russ. So this should be fun. The first one is actually directed towards me, but you mentioned him, so I think you should answer too. Quintez Cephas, man, myth, or legend, or all of the above. Obviously, it's all of the above. Russ, man, myth, or legend for Quintez Cephas.
I'm good with man and myth so far.
I agree.
Legend, give me like 2 games. Give me like 2 games of him getting like 10 targets, and then he's automatically legend status because I called it. So I will go 2 out of 3, but very easily he'll climb that 3rd rung.
See, Russ is 2/3 of the way there. I'm all the way there. So Rocky, now you know Quintez Cephas. You better make a big trade with Lindsay to get Quintez Cephas on your team, because I don't think she's gonna give him up now. So put out your first for Quintez Cephas, Rocky. Put your money where your mouth is.
Ooh.
And then I know this is Outhouse's favorite question, and a question I know he won't answer. But
Trade Addicts 3.
What is your favorite Trade Addicts league? And we've lost Russ due to technical difficulties.
I'm going through a tunnel.
All right, wait.
We
have to
know
get a
the
piece
answer.
Of paper.
It's okay. It's okay, Russ. I answered it for you. It's cool.
I mean, and Bill answered it wrong. It's definitely TA2, but you know, it's all
If you
good.
only knew, buddy. If you only knew.
Trust me, I know more than you think I do. No, I mean, I love just to poke a little fun at Russ because people ask him this question all the time, and Russ
I love
is like,
all my children equally.
I ain't doing it. You know, it ain't happening. I'm not giving you no answers to no stuff because he's a smart man. And now you have 9 children with the start of TA9. And I saw someone
Catholic,
tweet,
old Catholic family.
Yeah, he's just kids everywhere.
I'm perpetuating our species. That's what I'm doing.
There you go. Good for you.
Well, trust me, the dynasty population will never go slow because Russ is just there all the time, just popping them. But no, man, I saw someone tweet out like, there's been like 20 trades made, and the the draft hasn't even started yet.
Yeah, that was mostly my fault. I started with the 105. I traded up to the 103, and then I traded the 10. Then I traded like my second and third to get the 108. I traded up from the 108 to get to the 101. So like I did like 4 of them all on my own, and yeah, it was fun. It was messy. It was wonderful. Yeah. The Philip Rivers of fantasy football. Oh, that is funny and hurtful at the same time.
That is funny.
There you go.
So I got a shout out here 2 weeks in a row. Actually, people are starting to put more articles on Twitter now, so I get to read more, which I love. And this one is from the league winners at FF League Winners. This is the latest article from at FF Parks as he looks into Tampa Bay wide receiver Mike Evans. Some have told you to sell last year, but Parks does an incredible job showcasing the consistency of Evans through his career. A very great read. I actually read it. It is a great read. And we did talk a little bit about Evans earlier, so it ties in perfectly. I will drop that link in the show description and on the show notes that we put out on Twitter. So in that case, Russ, we're gonna wrap this thing up. I know you have another pod after this because you are a marathon man.
Such a huge mistake.
I want to get you out of here so you have time.
You should have been drinking the coffee.
Time to prep for that, but just in case for some unknown reason people don't know who you are or where they can find you, which I don't even think is a thing anymore, let them know.
Nah, I mean, I'm at Dynasty Outhouse on Twitter. You know, say hi. It's all good. But subscribe to the Dynasty Addicts Podcast Network because you can listen to the awesome show Fantasy Timeline, or subscribe to the YouTube channel of the Dynasty Addicts Podcast Network. Hit that subscribe and the notifications button so you get that ding whenever we go live Wednesdays at 9:00. And I'm really bad at doing this. I don't know why.
You're doing a great job.
I did the hype man voice too, and I'm doing the hands if you're watching. No, but like seriously, just subscribe to the DAP Network because like everyone's show is just freaking awesome. Like I love the timeline. Junkies came back. Oh man, like listen to the Junkies if you hadn't yet. Like Dustin sounds refreshed and it's wonderful. And Scott is just so damn good at podcasting. So and Rocky's okay, I guess. But also Get Real. You know, Casey had some computer issues, but finally she came back. The next on my list is her interview with Matt frickin' Berry, which is cool as hell.
Yeah.
So yeah, there's so much good stuff there. And since I am a company man, also subscribe to the Dynasty League Football, the family of podcasts over there, which is another way to get the Trade Addicts podcast and some awesome other podcasts like Dynasty Game Night, which for some reason I also host because why only host one podcast
right
when you could host like 6?
again, the Philip Rivers of
That's my
fantasy
deal.
football podcast hosting. So, Russ, appreciate you. And actually, you did a great job because normally I tell people to subscribe on YouTube and subscribe to the feed and all that stuff. So you knocked all that stuff out of the park. Just
I
a
got you,
quick
boo.
thanks. Just a quick thanks to everybody that was in chat. Drew, Short Logic, Lindsay, Steve Dennis, Ryan. I probably forgot a person or two. I apologize, but it's always
He
more
plays
fun when people,
hard.
he plays hard.
Yep.
Yeah, everybody, thank you. It's a lot more fun when there's stuff kind of scrolling by in the comments, and we can call Russ the Philip Rivers of fantasy football, which is now his new nickname, and it just makes it fun. So thank you, we appreciate it. And Bill, guess what? We're out of here.
Late.